Yo, what's up, Foolys? It's your boy Othree. Welcome back to the Othree Exhibit. This is exhibit number 33. This is for the family, friends, and followers of Xander. We talk about his college days, his career as an educator, lacrosse, and more. Now for the story of Xander, post up and enjoy. This is the last time we had a conversation through Zoom.
Dude, I mean, that's like during when COVID hit the year after. I mean, I was teaching on Zoom for 3/4 of the year.
Ooh.
I was talking a bunch of black screens because
Huh.
we like originally they wanted us to have, they can, make sure the kids have their cameras on and whatnot, make sure they don't do anything. But it's like our bandwidth was so slow. Like we'd tell the kids like just keep your cameras off. Like kids were like, yeah, I turn it when I got back. The kids were like, yeah, we turn it on, just like leave the room. And I'm like, I mean, what do you want me to do? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to these kids' houses and telling them, oh, you need to turn the camera on. It's like I couldn't teach with it on.
No, I had the. We could talk about it a little bit later in the interview, but I had a similar experience working in the after school program, like the still same situation, black screens, and you just had to do with the best you could with the resources that were given to you, right?
Yeah, like the same five kids responded in the chat every class with the answer. I'm like, all right, here we go. Like, there are kids that come in when we went back in person. I'm like, looking at the attendance, I'm like, you never came to one Zoom class. Like, yeah, I know. I'm like, well,
Fuck
you're
it
here
up.
now. Like,
Fuck
well,
it
you're
up.
here now. Let's get working.
Hey, dog, like working with the youth is a beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. Like I said, we'll talk about it later when we get into the subject of education, being an educator. But to tell the story of Xander, right? I'm gonna refer to you as Xander, but you want to give everybody a quick introduction as to who you are?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. born born at the close to the end of the year in '95 during apparently a huge snowstorm. My dad keeps telling me that was like the biggest snowstorm in Philadelphia. Grew up a diehard Eagles fan, diehard Penn State fan, so we're doing pretty well right now. I'm liking it finally. Both teams are doing well at the same time, so we'll keep that rolling. But yeah, I mean, yeah, grew up. Had an older sister. Was with my parents in same house outside of Phil, 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia my whole life. Switched schools my sophomore year of high school, so I went to school in the city of Philadelphia for sophomore, junior, and senior year, which was very different from this like bumfuck town I grew up in, where it wasn't like fully rural, but it was on the cusp of definitely a suburb now, but it was on the cusp of becoming a suburb because I mean we still had kids that would drive their tractors to high school at like the end of the year. Like we had that mixture, and then they were building houses. Now, I mean, so many of the farms are gone. It's like completely suburbanized where I was. But yeah, it was funny going from a school where my high school originally would have been, I think, probably 99, 98% black to when I went to school in the city of Philadelphia. It was like exactly 50 white, 50 black percent. It was crazy.
That's crazy. When people tell me this story, we'll have a segment dedicated to high school and everything. But when people tell me this story, this is the kind of information that I like to listen to because sometimes we only know the world based on how we experienced it and how we lived it and through the lens that
Hmm.
that we have, in front of us. And for me, it was mostly Latino, right? And so I saw the world in that specific through that specific lens and shit. But to hear your experience, um, that I wanna hear a little bit more about that. But to go back to the very beginning, I like to ask my guests about their parents because I feel that our story begins before we're even born. Like, where are your
Oh
parents
yeah.
from? Where do your roots begin?
Oh yeah, so my mom, she grew up in Alney in North Philadelphia. So anyone that watches college basketball, it's where LaSalle University is up in Alney, North Philadelphia. Just not too far from Temple University either. So she grew up there in the city her whole life. My dad's from the Lehigh Valley. He's from Easton, Pennsylvania, so the town over from where Saquon Barkley's from. So I'd say about hour and a half north of where my mom grew up. Well, it's funny. So my dad had a very what you could call like traditional upbringing. Like both his parents were both immigrants. Very came to America both very very young. Well, at least his mom was. I don't know about his dad. I think his dad was, but I'm not fully certain. But I mean, he grew up there. as soon as he graduated high school, went to college at Penn State for 4 years, and then he got into sales, started working there. So I mean, his upbringing isn't like the most exciting. He has a national championship in cycling, but he never brings that up.
What
He
the
he was
fuck?
in yeah, it was crazy. He was athletic at one point. He just casually brings up. He's like, yeah, we won a title in their sophomore year, and they're racing for, like, you know how Ohio State, or like how there's like satellite campuses to the bigger schools.
Ah.
So he went to Penn State Lehigh Valley, which I think is now Penn State Allentown. They won a national championship in cycling. Him and his three buddies. It was like a four-man pursuit. They won that their sophomore year. They get to main campus. They realize how much fun main campus was. They all quit. They're like, all right, we're good. The coach like, kidding me. He's
Oh
like, ah.
shit.
I was like, it's too much fun. We already got a ring. My mom though, so she grew up in Alney. She was the youngest of five siblings. Yeah, youngest of five siblings. Mom worked with people with special needs. Her dad was a Philly cop growing up in the 80s and 70s Philadelphia. So a lot of turmoil, a lot of changes going on
Oh,
there with like Mayor Rizzo taking over after being police commissioner. That was the whole controversy. But it's almost, I know we're gonna talk about education a lot, but it was funny. My mom was able to graduate high school, but she only went in on days to take tests because like attendance was like there was no computers to track anything. So she's like, yeah, I get the books, I go home, I go to school when I knew the test was, and that was it. Like I think her attendance was like 20, less than 20%, but she's like, I mean, no one kept track at all. So it was like, all right, I mean, you passed. So that's what she was. She was very that. So you're talking about how your parents start molding you. I mean, school was like, I can't mess up in school because I mean, she was like, I mean, she was very smart. Never went to school. That was never going to happen for me. So she was on me about school. She was involved in as many things as possible growing up, and she was still working two jobs too while she was
mm.
involved with that. She was an accountant and was transcribing for court cases. So you know the people typing during court cases, so they're typing sounds. They're not typing words because they have to go with what people are talking about. And she would take the sounds that the people type up and translate it into the actual text that people would read.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so when people are typing, banging away at the keyboard in a courtroom, they're not typing words. They're typing like the sounds they hear. And then that gets transcribed into actual text. So that's what she did on the side. And then my dad was just a paper salesman for a while, Thunder Mifflin style, until that
I was
until
about to
that
say
went
that shit,
through.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, until that went through. Now he sells water sanitation systems. Salesman for life.
You talk about your pops and his upbringing and how he's considered first generation, right? Where's
Yeah, I said kind of, yeah.
where's your family, like if you could trace your lineage, where are they from? Like do you know?
So, so my dad's exactly half Italian, half German. So his mom's side was fully German. His dad's side was fully Italian. My mom, it's a mixture of British, Irish, Eastern European, Russian, Turkish. It's all over the place. Her side's all mixed. But I know they can trace their lineage back to people that fought in the American Revolution. Like they're descendants of people that have been here for like ever. I think they said they could link themselves to like the first colony in Virginia, but no one's ever been able to prove that. That's just something that's been said.
Your family ever do that that what is that shit called? 24. What is it called? 21 and
23
me?
and Me.
Yeah.
23 and Me. I don't know if they did 23 and Me. They did something like that. That's where we found out we had like Turkish in us because it was all like British, Polish, Irish, Russian, and then all of a sudden over Turkey there's this big circle. And we're like, what? Where did this come from? We're like,
Yeah.
I mean that's what it says. No, my dad, his side, it was literally a circle over Germany, a circle over Italy. That was it. That was the straight lineage.
When I have a conversation with people about lineage, like it's easy for me to know where my family is from. Like I still go there, right? My family's right there, is there right now. They're currently in the part of Mexico where they're at, where they're from, where they grew up. They're there right now. So it's easy for me to track that. And I think about it in generations into the future, like second, third generation Latinos or Mexican Americans specifically, the way that you talk about your family is the way these fools are gonna talk about theirs, right? Because
Yeah.
it's easy for me to be like, oh, I'm Mexican, like I could trace it. I could go there right now and talk to my primos, my cousins. Like I've been there. I've fucking been there multiple times, and so it's easy for me to talk about it and look at it like that. But for you, you're talking about it like, fool, you could trace your family back to a fucking war and shit. That's crazy. Like
Yeah,
that's an interesting topic and shit because we only read about that in books, but to know that you had family there,
yeah, when I was like in sixth grade, my dad for his birthday, he's a big history guy. He wanted to go to the Gettysburg battlefield because they got all the memorials there.
yeah.
And I remember when it was like 100 degrees. It was brutal. When we get there, my dad looks at me in the back. He's like, "This is my birthday. This is for me. Don't ruin this." I'm like, "Okay." So we go. We found my mom's relatives that we knew were in the Civil War. We knew where their grave was. Like that's still so
Oh
that I've
shit.
seen evidence. I've never seen evidence of the Revolution, but I think we do have it. I've just never seen it. But I physically seen like the Civil War stuff. So, but I think we pretty. Well, they have a certificate or something about the Revolution, like Daughter of the Revolution, which makes me a son of the Revolution. So it is official, I guess. I've just never seen anything like cool like the grave. I saw the grave. I'm like, oh shit, there we are.
Do you get like any benefits or what's the certificate for? Is it just like a vanity thing?
I think it's a vanity thing. I don't know. My mom was always like, "Oh, this could be for a scholarship or something." I'm like, "Mom, I don't think anyone really cares that much."
It's just like one of those attendance certificates you get at the school and shit.
Yeah, it's like participation. It's like, here, you guys were here. They probably died during the war, but here you go.
Oh damn, that shit. That's crazy. I didn't know they gave out certificates like that. I mean, another one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because of that. Like I'm a big, like you said, your pops is a big historian. What do they call them? History buffs and shit.
He's a history guy. I wouldn't say he's a buff. He likes to talk college football more than he likes to talk history. He
Uh,
just thinks like certain things are cool.
yeah, I
He
think.
games a lot. He games a lot. I'll say that. He games way more than I do. I barely game nowadays. I mean, you know how Fallout 4 like
Oh,
it doesn't seem often.
like a
Yeah,
gamer
he's got
game.
an Alienware and everything. Yeah, he's
Oh,
got the
what the
Alienware
fuck?
setup. Yeah, it's funny. He'll have his one monitor with his game, his other monitor like with his work that he's doing, like his actual job. But he goes back and forth. Dude, but you know how Fallout 4, he plays that. He still plays that. You know how it doesn't end, kind of? He's like a level like 100. So it like doesn't, he just keeps level because it doesn't end. There's no cap to your level. So he's just always playing it.
That's cool as fuck, dog. I've never heard somebody's pop being a gamer like that.
He was a
That's
huge gamer. When we grown up, we had the Super Nintendo. We played like the Mario, like like the first three Legends of Zeldas on it. Like he got me into games. It's just I don't make time to game anymore. Like I mean I've played like I still have my Xbox One now. Like from time to time, like oh, I'll try play The Witcher again. I'm still like 10% through that game, or like I'll play Madden and get frustrated, turn it back off because I realize I'm not good at these games.
I still play video games. I love video games. I mean, obviously, as time goes on, that time kind of starts decreasing, but you know that I want to be like your pops. So, how old is he?
He just turned 60 this year.
I want to be a 60-year-old gamer dog in the future. And I mean, that's how a lot of us are gonna be like that, right? I think it's a generational thing. It's also like I look at it, I'm like, fool, my dad don't fucking give a fuck about video games and shit. He didn't know what the fuck it was, dog. Like some American thing, right? Like I think it's an American culture shit. Like they never had fucking video games growing up in Mexico. And even
Yeah.
when he was here, like the only reason like he ever heard of video games was because of us, right? Because of
Hmm.
his kids like shit. So I mean, I want to be a 60-year-old gamer. I mean, you see y'all, you go on Twitch right now, and there's a bunch of fucking old heads playing video games. Like it's a thing, right? Like it's a 60-year-old gamers trying it out on Twitch. Like that's fun to see, Because
Yeah,
my
my dad follows some of those guys on like their YouTube channels
yeah,
because he'll be like, "Oh, I can't get past this level, so I need to figure it out, so I'll
do
watch."
research and
And he'll
shit.
Yeah, he'll research. He'll instead of looking up like because you, I remember like I used to look up the walkthroughs for like certain
Yep.
games to get certain things. You just go on YouTube and you just find someone to watch them do exactly what you need to do.
Fucking go exactly where the hidden items at and shit. Like you've been struggling for an hour. Like, nah, I'm gonna go on YouTube. Like, see shit like that. That's
Yeah.
I think about it like, damn, a 60-year-old going through a fucking video game like he was an 18-year-old. That's funny to see. You ever asked that way? You should start a Twitch stream, my boy? Like to your pops?
I do. I think it'd be entertaining because he's just a loose cannon. Like he'll just go off about something during the game. Like what is wrong? He's like, can't figure this shit out.
And I
That was
mean, being the first gen, does he know like any German or Italian? Like that'd be funny to throw that in there.
he knew a good amount of German. I mean, he can't really speak it that well anymore. His mom was was fluent in German, but here's the crazy thing. So like when she came over, when her family came over during World War II, so they came over. They when they got here, you know how you have like the bilingual educational act now. You have all this. They didn't have that, or at least she says they didn't have that. So like they just had to learn English, and so for a lot of European immigrants, especially in my grandma's family, they were told like you need to learn English, forget your German. So she
Mm.
can still speak German, but it's not comfortable for her because when she was like 6, she was being told stop speaking German, speak only English.
I mean,
So
that's
it's like
a
a lot of that was lost to some people. Like some cultural stuff was lost because you're like, oh, like okay, especially post World War II, people don't want to hear anyone speaking German. Like so
yeah.
they're just she knew German. She can still read it. She could probably still speak it if she needed to, but English is more comfortable for her.
I think I look at it because it's a common theme in terms of like when you look at immigrant groups, the Mexican Americans, the Chicanos, they have the same similar experience, right? They talk about how the Native Americans they used to force them to cut their hair, right? Like you hear these fucking practices,
Forced assimilation. It's all like
yeah,
either you're with us or against us. It's I mean,
yeah.
when it comes to survival for certain groups, I mean, it's like you have no choice unless you really wanted to risk it. I mean, it's crazy some of the stuff, especially thinking the history of it. Like when we talk about, I remember we were talking about like internment camps, and when I used to teach modern American history, and like the kids learning about like the Japanese internment camps, and they're like, "Wait, this happened?" I'm like, "Yes, we literally put people in camps during World War II, and it happened to." Italians, happened to German Americans, Japanese Americans was definitely more. It happened to other groups too. I mean, it was like crazy. Like some of the lengths that you think today be horrifying. It's like, no, we did. That's like what
Some
happened.
fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Some fucked up shit. Not yet. Especially here in Cali, it's interesting because they had a Japanese internment camp here. I think that's what it's called, right? An internment camp. They had one
Yeah.
here in and we even read a book about it in high school. I still have it. It's called Road to Manzanar or some shit like that. Uh, but to to continue because I love this shit. For we go in sidetrack conversation, we go different places, but to
It was like when we
continue,
were at OWU, we'll just come off on something comes up and we're like, oh, just go down this rabbit hole.
I think that's what I think that's what eventually led us to develop such a closer relationship because we'll get into it later, but now you grew up in Pennsylvania, right? Your parents grew up in Pennsylvania, and then you came in. You said late '95, right? You said it was a small little town. A small little like
Yeah, I would say
what do
it
you
was
call it?
it was like a semi-rural town. There were a lot like when I grew up, my street was a cut-through street between two major roads. So I grew up on a street with 7 houses,
Mm.
and each road was like essentially like a mini freeway. So we had no sidewalks on my street. I was the youngest kid. There was one other house that had kids my age, and they were both girls. And me growing up, 7-year-old boy, I don't want to talk to girls. That's gross. I
Cooties.
still don't talk. I still don't talk to girls. Like, why not? Yeah. But is and so my mom was like, "Well, you can't like one." So one side of the street was another county. So I didn't know anyone from school that lived over there because no one from my school would have been there. It's a different county. And then my other side was a farm, but the other county side was one house with another farm. But when I go back now, the one farm is like half a farm, all like new houses, and then the one side is like completely brand new houses built. So that's what I mean. Like when I was growing up, it was like semi-rural because about half mile down there'd be newer houses. Oh, okay. Now it's like completely like a suburb feel. It's very different. Like there's shops, there's shopping centers. There was
Mm.
one shopping center when I was growing up. Now there's like one behind my neighbor's house across the street. It's like crazy how like it
It's one
changed.
of those. It was one of those. I know exactly what you're talking about. You study
Yeah,
it.
so
When you study development a little bit, you hear about the evolution of the town to the small city to the.
mhm.
I mean, I don't know how much potential there is for the for your spot to eventually grow into its own like a bigger city or whatever. Is it considered a city now, or what is the official
I would
title?
still I would still say it's the town of Chalfont. I'd still say it's a town. It's nowhere near a city. I mean, the town next to it, Doylestown, you might be able to call a city because it's classified as a resort town, and there's a main street, there's stuff to do. Chalfont is just too spread out still. There's like just neighborhoods,
Mm.
some farms, and then shopping centers. But growing up too, I mean, I learned to be really good at occupying like my time independently because my mom was working two jobs. So the summer my dad was working. My sister was 7 years older than me. So I mean we 7 year gap is like
Well, you're a
what
single
do you
child at that point.
yeah, I was pretty much a single child because she was old enough she'd go work. So I'm 10, she's 17, or I'm 9, she's 16. She's working during the day during the summer too to make money. So I'm just sitting at home, just like putzing around, twiddling my thumbs. You know, but luckily my parents had woods in their backyard, so I'd go in the woods, I'd play in the woods. I got very creative
Mm.
with not necessarily like a lot because also, I didn't have a cell phone until I got to 8th grade. I didn't get an iPhone until my senior year of high school, which now it's like kids get iPhones or like everything when they're so
5
young.
years old
So
with iPads and shit.
yeah, all that shit. So it's like I was occupying myself. I had a very vivid imagination, but you kind of had to when you were just like putzing around with the dog all day.
Fucking branches are guns and shit.
Yeah, all do when it snowed, I would make like crazy snow fort. Well, I thought they were crazy. They were really bad. They'd fall apart. But like, or like you couldn't watch TV during the because like now you can stream stuff. Like when I try telling my students like during the because the students would be like, oh, do you want? How, would you just? I'm like, I couldn't stream anything. I had cable. In case you haven't noticed, like during the day in the summer on cable, there is nothing on except Maury, Jerry Springer, but that didn't come on till 2, 3 o'clock. So I mean, I'm not watching QVC all day.
It's all
So,
fucking what the Young and the Restless, like those types of shows and
yeah,
shit.
like, I don't care about General Hospital.
Those lame ass shows and shit. But you talk about your childhood. Let's cover some ground through your speaking on your K through 12 experience because way different, right? I grew up in South Central, big city, boom. But
Yeah.
you grew up in a super small town. What was your elementary school like? How that fuck that look like?
So the elementary, it's funny, like it everything had us. It was essentially a small town, but because it felt so small. It was a very spread out town. I think is more realistic because like my high school when we eventually get to that the high school I would have went to. I mean, it was Quad A, which was like the biggest at the time. There were big schools, a lot of people. It was just so spread out. It felt like a small town all the time because it just covered so much area, but it had a lot of people. But I mean, the elementary school, when I got there in kindergarten, I mean, I was there from kindergarten through 6th grade because that's how they did it. And I mean, it was very just, it's crazy, like thinking about like the worldview of your elementary school. I remember being so big, like, because it was like 2 floors, it was massive, like, had all these kids. My teachers were great. I mean, there were a couple that were like, yeah, but they were also older people. Like I had some teachers that there's a couple that actually I still talk to because when I told them I was going into teaching, because during college I came back to visit my elementary school. And I told me I was getting into teaching, and that's when I got back to elementary school. I'm like, wow, I remember everything being much bigger. Here it's like it's just a small school.
Yeah.
But like I still talk to some my 4th grade teacher, my 5th grade teacher, and my kindergarten teacher are all still there. So I was like talking to them, and it's cool to like be kind of like like Facebook friends with them, and just see like what they do. Because I remember my fourth grade teacher, it was his first year teaching when I had him in fourth grade, and now he's like a veteran teacher, like with like four kids or something crazy. Like he was a young single dude, like a young, good-looking single dude teaching elementary school. I mean, talk about a way to like just get girls.
Damn,
I settled down. He
that's
settled
a
down.
that's a crazy ass fucking being now. I was like, oh, what do you do? I'm an elementary school teacher. That's crazy. That fool probably got stories and shit, but who the fuck was Xander, dog? Like during elementary school, what kind of shit you like? What were your interests? Your music?
Dude, oh, elementary school. I mean, music wise, I mean, it was what, because my sister was 7 years older than me, so it was whatever she was listening to. So I remember being like first grade listening to like Breaking the Habit by Linkin Park, like like songs about like relapsing and I had no idea what they were. I'm like, oh, this is just cool sound. Like I had no idea these songs are about like depression, drugs, and like relapsing, like all that at the time. So I would say with music, I was ahead of where I definitely should have been with what I was listening to. But like, I didn't know what I was listening to. It was just like, oh, I like the beat, I like the sound of it. So whatever my sister was listening to, that's what I was listening to because it's just what it was. Because she would play the music. Like I remember I'd hear like early 2000s, like I'd hear Evanescence, like Sum 41, like Jay-Z, Rihanna. I'd hear like all like the early stuff.
Music
Or
that a fucking first grader shouldn't be listening to.
yeah, but I'm like, the thing with my parents was like they knew was listening to it. They were like, you just can't repeat anything you hear in there. And I was a very like yes sir, yes ma'am, like no sir, no ma'am kind of thing growing up because I was like terrified of my parents growing up. And then I got taller than my dad when I was in fifth grade, and I was like, hey, he's short, and I was like not afraid of him anymore. But yeah, I was very like my parents said I was an easy child because I just coast. I did well in school. I mean, it was kindergarten, like elementary school. Like you just had to get like do colors. Like it wasn't hard. So it was. I didn't get in trouble. So I was always the easier kid. I just kind of. I was very good at staying in my lane, like my entire life, pretty much. Just like, all right, this is what I gotta do. That's all I'm doing.
So I'm
But
guessing they had no issues with you when it came to grades, right? During your elementary school years?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, elementary, middle school years, I was fine. I'd say eighth grade when I started hanging out with like I like started hanging out with people really because like elementary school it's like I hung out with like some kids on the weekends but they were like kind of nerdy kids so it was like whatever but then I don't it just weirdly I can remember specifically like middle school eighth grade I was in the science class and I was sitting with these two dudes one's Josh one's Mike both big like skaters like middle like you remember like 2009 2010 like some like the emo style started to come in they were big that and like I never it was funny like going from elementary school sixth grade to middle school seventh eighth grade it's like there's people wearing like makeup now what the fuck what's
It's
going
a
on
fucking it's a different change. It's a change, dog. Like now, fools are rebels and shit. I
yeah
mean, I know
especially
fools are smoking. I started smoking at 13 and shit. So in middle school, I'm blazing it.
yeah that's when I learned people did that too I'm like what that's crazy because like I didn't have like real neighbors and my sister was 7 years older than me so unless I was around it like in school, I had no idea what any trend was. Like it took me till like you ever hear of like the this is jumping forward a little bit. We'll probably get into this, but you ever hear of like the black girlfriend effect or like the Latina girlfriend effect for like a white dude if they get a black girlfriend or Latina girlfriend, it's like their style increases.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so like my fiance is Brazilian, and so I have the Latina girlfriend effect where it's like I've learned how to dress in like my mid 20s to now, but like beforehand, like I had no sense of style. Like
Well, you
you
had
could,
no flavor, dog. You had no flavor
I
back
had
then.
none. Especially now, just consider that like an all white area growing up in like a semi-rural town. Like I had no swag.
No culture,
Like dude,
dog.
no culture. It was bad.
That's just funny.
It was bad. And
Uh,
then I see kids in like skinny jeans, like straightening their hair, wearing eyeliner. I'm like, what did I miss something?
well, I mean,
I had no idea what happened.
if you think about it, like, because we're around the same age, right? We're both
Yeah.
95 babies. Obviously, the separation of the grade levels comes into play, right? Because I was January, right? part of
Hmm.
one grade level, end of 1995, different grade level, same age. We saw the evolution of when we seen MySpace, right? And then we seen Facebook and then the growth of pretty much social media, right? So when we're kids, all we got is fucking dial-up internet or whatever we see in magazines. It's still kind of we're still trying to catch up onto. Well, I mean, I'm speaking for me. It was easy, right? I live in the city, LA, right? But I don't know how it was growing up in these small little towns. Did you have access to the internet? But even then, like by the time 2010 comes around, social media is it's like a couple years like already. I mean, Instagram isn't born yet, but
Hmm.
we're already years into MySpace, years into Facebook, so it's easier to see what other fucking people are doing. It's easy to be influenced by other cultures and shit. So
Yeah.
how much access did you have to the outside world growing up?
I'd say, well, let's see, in eighth grade, I got a Facebook because my friend told me, hey, you need to get on it. And I was like, Mom, Dad, can I get one? They're like, yeah, sure. They were like, just don't talk to strangers. And I'm like, well, that's all I do. So I mean,
The classic?
yeah, they're saying that. It's like they just don't know when I'm going to my friend's house. We're going on like chat roulette Omegle. It's like, Mom, I talk to strangers all the time. Like I'm good at this. Trust me. And so I got Facebook, and that's why I started like first seeing like 'cause you know where you could like a page, but the page was like that feeling when it was like it wasn't like businesses, it was just like random thing. Like I remember
Yep.
seeing that people like I knew liked. I'm like, oh, they think the same thing. Okay, that's cool. But like my sister, being 7 years older than me, I mean, she had a Zanga, like
Hmm.
the pre MySpace. Like that was wild to think. She had a Zanga.
I mean,
That's why they didn't want me being on social media because she was on
ah,
social media. And like when it was early, and like there was no restriction, it was great. Like the Wild West of
yeah,
social media.
we had a bunch of these smaller MySpace type of pages. You ever heard of a page called Moco Space?
No.
See, that's probably some straight like LA fucking, I don't know if it was strictly LA, but that was some straight underground shit right there. That's like if somebody's listening to this and they can relate to Moco Space, they know what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard to explain it to people that don't get it. You just had to be there, right? It's one of those like it was a social media app, but a lot of fucking rowdy shit would take place. A lot of meeting up, with a lot of the shit that that you didn't really want to do on Facebook or MySpace happened on Moco Space. Like if you had a
Yeah, it
side
was
chick, you would go on Moco Space for and then try to get a side chick. Like it was that kind of energy, if you get what I'm saying.
edgy. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
the
it's
edgy.
super edgy, dog. Like super edgy shit
It
on
was
here.
like the people you had that were like you had the Reddit people, then you had the 4chan people.
Yeah, it was kind of like
Yeah.
that. I mean, not to that
No,
extreme,
no,
but yeah.
that's an extreme, but I know what you, yeah.
And then I mean, we could kind of combine middle school and elementary school. Did you ever watch wrestling?
Dude, that's the thing. I was never into wrestling. I feel like it's because my dad was never into it. I was never into wrestle. I like wrestled as a sport, but no, I never watched like WWE, WWF. Like my da- my dad didn't golf, so I never golfed. My dad didn't fish, so I never fished. My dad biked, so I mean, I biked, but there was nowhere to really to bike. I was on the side of two highways, so I'd bike around like my street up and down, which is not that fun. And then in third grade, I fell down a hill and shattered my left shoulder when I
Ooh,
was biking. So I'm like, I didn't bike for like 10 years because I was too scared to.
damn, that's
Dude, I'm not an athletic person. Like, I'm in shape. I'm not athletic. That's, I'm not very athletic. You see me try to shoot a basketball, dude. It's bad.
I was gonna ask you that the because when we met, you were playing lacrosse, right? But
Yeah.
elementary school years, going into middle school, were you? I mean, you just said you were an athletic person, but were you in the sports teams or any of that?
Yeah. Like, I was playing like youth football. I started playing lacrosse in second grade. So it was like, I was doing
Shit.
that, doing football. Uh, Basketball, never could. It was never gonna happen. I just couldn't shoot, couldn't dribble. I still can't dribble. If I was to shoot 100 basketballs, I think I'd make like 13.
Oh, I know
Just
that.
it didn't. Yeah,
I
it just
know.
didn't. you've seen me shoot. It's a miracle when it goes in. Like I still can't dribble. Like if I'm dribbling the ball, I need to be looking at the ball. Like if I take my eyes off it, I'm hitting my leg. It's bad.
It's a wrap.
It was like football and lacrosse were like the two things I did growing up, and like I was decent at those because like football, I played DN, and I was always on the bigger side, which helped. But then I remember I was in eighth grade, my last year playing football. I was like, oh, let me think. Like my dad's like, oh, you want to play high school? I mean, it made sense. I was doing it my whole life. But then my high school for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks during training camp, they did a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, three a day overnight in the
Ooh.
auxiliary gym. You had to bring a mattress. I'm like, that's just not for me. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't love football that much. So I like started running cross country instead. It was just like I was not good at that. I was like dead last all the time.
Fuck
But
that.
I'm
Bringing a
like,
mattress to fuck that shit, dog. What
they
the fuck?
like air mattresses. Well, I'm like, no, this team's not even that good.
What the fuck, dog? What's going on? I mean, I'm guessing that's how fucking fools are built, right? But hell,
I,
never, dog.
I I did not have that dog in me. I'll tell you that. I was like, this is not for me, man. I'll do something that's not as serious.
Fuck that shit. All right, so then, okay, now let's get into high school. You go into high school. You said you did 1 year at your local high school, right?
Yeah.
What was that
Mhm.
like?
So yeah, so it's funny. So my freshman year was still at the middle school, so seventh, eighth, ninth grade. So ninth
Oh,
grade,
what the fuck?
yeah, I told you it was weird. So
Weird
like you
ass
could still do
shit.
like you did high school sports, so I like ran high school cross country. I played high school lacrosse, but like you had a bus during your season that took you from the middle school to the high school. It's always been like that in that district. It still is. I don't know why they do that, but that's how it was. So I was never technically in the high school, but like I was a high schooler. So after my freshman year, I was like, you know, it just wasn't. I was starting to become very complacent. I was doing a similar pattern that happened with a lot of people in my area because I mean, school was like pretty easy. Like it wasn't like challenging at all. I was getting bored and my grades were starting to slip my eighth grade, my freshman year. And when I say slip, I mean like season B's, which was like a nightmare for my mom. Like, oh my God, no. It's like I thought it was fine. But and then like lacrosse wise, I was like, I want to take this more seriously. My high school just at the time, my high school's better now, but like when at the time my high school was not very serious. And so my parents, fortunate to have them, like they've wanted me to leave the district for a while because they just saw so many people that like my sister's age and my age growing up that just got so complacent there that like they don't leave, they don't go anywhere.
They
They
just
just
see your
stay in.
future.
Yeah, and like they just see the time. My parents like, no, we need to like. So my parents scraped money together. Like my dad took money out of his retirement. He picked up another job so that they could send me to the school in the city. So I'm forever grateful for that. And so I went there from sophomore through senior year, and like I mean that was it was great for all the reasons I didn't think it would be when I like graduated. When I look back on it too, it's like I learned so much there that like wasn't what I thought it was going to be when I was getting there because I was like, oh, it's going to be private school. It's just going to be different. Like it's going to be like I knew it'd be different, but like I didn't like the the diversity aspect in itself was like that. Looking back on it retroactively, it's like that was huge for me because like I was around all different cultures, different religions. Like where I grew up, it was like 99% white. Like everyone's like a
The same.
Protestant, Christian Catholic,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like couple Jewish kids and like that, and like some Hindu and like, but like going to my school was like I was around, you know, people who celebrate Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, Ramadan. I
You
was
got all the
around,
holidays, huh?
yeah, all like the major holidays. I remember doing like songs for in like the holiday assembly in elementary school. I remember the first year we did the Ramadan song. Like everyone was like, "What the hell is this?" Then I get to high school. I'm like, "Oh, this is a part of a religion." Like
Yeah,
I
this is
didn't know.
real.
I didn't.
Yeah.
They told us to sing song. I didn't know that was like, oh, this is a whole religion. I didn't know that until I got to like middle school and then high school. I'm around people that actually celebrate. And I'm like, oh wow. I mean, like so much respect for people that fast for their religion. I'm like, I could not do that. I respect people that are able to have self control around food to do that. I cannot do that. That's wild. but yeah, and it's like I'm around people from different parts of Philadelphia. There are people from Delaware, South Jersey. There are people from foreign exchange students from China, from France, from like European countries that came there. I was around students. I was around some of my classmates. There were from like generational wealth, and then I had other kids who were living in like North Philadelphia, Strawberry Mansion neighborhoods, like the same neighborhood Meek Mill grew up in. Like
Straight
the
hood shit.
economic, yeah, the economic diversity was crazy. I went to
Oh,
one grad party. The kid had his grad party in a different part of the city because he didn't want he didn't want his friends going down to like where he lived,
mm.
like down in like North Philly. So I mean, it was crazy, like just the diversity I was around with that. I mean, again, that's like just open because like you're growing up, you're around the same circle. All of a sudden, you go to a school, a place that has all these different things, and it's like, well, there's like a whole nother world. Like it opened up my thinking to just be like, there's it's hard to explain, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, and I get you.
you
I
get you
did.
get all these new perspectives.
Yep. I had a similar experience in middle school. I got to be around Armenians, Filipinos, a couple more, black students. Right? Because I mean, growing up here, I was mostly Latino and with a bigger pocket of black students. But I went to a middle school, Filipino culture was big. Right? I had to take the school bus. Right? So I had an opportunity to see different worlds when I was young, which which I'm gonna ask you the same question, which for me, it made it easier to survive in the real world because I was able to appreciate other cultures before I was out into the real world. So my question to you is, do you feel like going to that high school made it easier to survive when you went to OU?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things that my high school did every year, which I really liked, because again, it really opened my eyes and like everything to just how different people's lives are, was every year they did something called Multicultural Day, where the whole school day was just built around like talking about cultural issues, religious issues, in like diverse groups. Like you were put specifically in groups with people that you don't really know well, were different ages, different genders, ethnicities, religions. And at the end, the last hour was like an open mic session where people like just talked about stuff and like sometimes it got super heavy. Like I know the year before I got there, it got super heavy to which unfortunately my sophomore through senior year, like they kind of restricted a little bit the open mic, but like from what I heard the year before, like people were talking about like coming people were coming out, people were talking. I had one classmate who talked about how he was at a bus stop when he saw his dad get shot in front of him.
Mm.
Like it was all types of different stuff, like
It got
very heavy
real.
stuff. Yeah, it
It
got
got
real
real,
real
bro.
quick.
Yeah. Damn.
But that I mean that prepared me for OWU because I get to OWU and it's like I'm meeting kids from Rocky River, Ohio, like yourself, and like South Central Los Angeles. Uh, just
That's all you need,
yeah,
dog. That's
yeah.
all
So
you
those are
need.
two areas. That's the only areas in America that matter: South Central Los Angeles and
And
Rocky
Rocky
River,
River,
Ohio.
Ohio. I'm gonna have him on here, dog. I hit him up. I was like, hey, you need to hop on here, dog. Shout out to my
Yeah,
bro.
dude.
They said,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But and again, like people from different countries. Like if you think
yeah.
about our the fraternity we were in, we had students. We had a kid from Canada at one point, a kid from Vietnam. Like just that's a small example, but I mean, again, you're just when I went to the high school I went to, I'm meeting people from all walks of life around the Philadelphia area. I go to I'm meeting people from all walks of life around the world and like mostly the country, but people from around the world, seeing different ways like people grew up. Like, do you remember, like, for instance, I think if had I not gone to the high school I did and been around the different cultures that I have, I would definitely would have been more closed off in college. But also, I remember when in 2016 when Black Lives Matter first started with Trayvon Martin, when that all occurred and people were doing the die-in protests on campus. Remember they would like lay down in the
That's for
thing.
for I missed out on that. I was so hungover I couldn't go.
Was it? Yeah, well, they did a couple times too, but yeah, like 2016, like late 2015, I think
Yeah, I
they
remember
talked
that.
about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they did that, and I remember a couple, people that I knew that were like laughing at it or being like, "Oh, this is fucking stupid." And I'm thinking to
Saying some
myself,
racist shit, darling.
yeah, too. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like I guarantee you, I'd be thinking the same way as some of those people, but because I went to my school, I got exposed to like so many different things. That's like while I didn't participate in the protest, I like understood and I had a respect for it because it's like, you don't know what these people that are protesting have gone. Maybe they've gone through something similar. Or they know someone that's experienced something like that, and this like hits home for them. So I mean, keeping it like that's what people don't understand. It's like di being around diversity. Like people are afraid that it's going to change you. Like I'll do all this. Like I don't necessarily think it's going to change you. It's going to open your mind to be like, oh, if someone's protesting something or they're speaking out on something, it opens your mind to be like, okay, maybe their perspective is different than mine because of something that happened to them, or they know something that happened to someone like that. Like having perspective, I think, is probably one of the best things my high school did for me, and probably what OU amplified or emphasized.
No, amplify. I'm pretty sure that's the word, right? Amplified. Yeah.
Both of them, yeah. But just if that's one thing I could do as a teacher, it's just open people's minds to just different perspectives. I think that's successful.
And that's, I think, just that perspective. You said it right there. Having perspective is key. It's an underrated. I feel like it's a trait that we have as humans. 'Cause I went in there with perspective. The only I will say this though, the only perspective that I lacked was being around white people.
Mhm.
Because out here, though, whew, it's a different environment, dog. It's different kind of folks. I'll put it like that. But even being around rich folks, that was weird for me, right? So for you
Yeah,
to have that perspective, you kind of went through that, what you went through in high school. I'm pretty sure that was real influential in your life, and even to this day it probably benefits you. But before we get into the college stuff to talk about how we met, last question about your high school and more on some funny shit in high school. Who were you, dog? Besides the sports, besides the academics, like what kind of music were you listening to? Was it at this point were you still listening to Linkin Park, or was it now you're into hip hop and shit like that?
I mean, you can never get away from your roots with Linkin Park, Evanescence, like Screamo. I still listen to that stuff, but no, I got to high school, I started getting into R&B more. I started getting into hip hop, definitely. I really started getting into like 90s, early 2000s R&B. Like I'm talking like the music videos where they were all white.
Yeah, I know what
Like
you're talking about.
I started listening to like Tyrese. I was listening to like Genuine. I got into that in high school because I'm like, I just like someone was playing it. I was like, man, I really like this too. And like, I just got really into that. Like Boys and Men being from Philadelphia. I've seen them in concert twice now. If you ever do so in Columbus, every 4 years they come back and they perform a free concert at this place called the Commons in Columbus. This is big outdoor venue. It's the coolest concerts I go to when they perform because Boys to Men, they play like Motown Philly. They play their big hits, but then they play covers of other songs. Like one year they covered Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith. They covered that Bruno Mars song where he's like, I'll catch a grenade for you, whatever it's called. They did a good job with it. They covered like Eric Clapton songs. They covered Elvis songs. Like they play mostly covers. I'm like, this is a lot cooler than like them playing some of their stuff. I'm like, this is awesome. But yeah, I started getting the R&B and hip hop definitely in high school with again probably just the influences that were around me. I was never a country guy. I'll say that. There are some country songs that I like that catch my ears from time to time, but no, it's still most of that. But I mean, who I was in high school, I mean, I still think I pretty much just existed. Like I was definitely one of the, I would say I was definitely not, I wouldn't say outgoing, but I wasn't introverted either. I was very much like
You're
still
just there,
staying.
fool.
I was there. I was just staying in my lane. People knew who I was. But it was like it's staying in my lanes. Let me do what I need to do.
What
I definitely got more social in college, but we'll get into that.
were you were you into like anime and shit like that in high school or not?
I was into that in like elementary school with like Naruto and like Megas XLR, if you remember that show. That show with it was a big show. They had big robots, but they always destroyed New Jersey in it. I don't know why that was the thing. but I stopped getting at that in middle school.
Okay.
I don't know. I just got no. But in high school, I was watching like Sopranos.
Oh shit.
I got into Sopranos. I got into this show called Nip Tuck. But
Mm,
that's
no.
like when I first like Netflix was first really becoming a streaming thing. 'Cause streaming really started when we were in high school. And so I was like streaming stuff from like the 90s and like the 80s that I'd never seen before. I'm like, oh, this is like it's kind of cool. I never see like I can just watch anything I wanted at any point. Like that, I got into that in high school with streaming. I started like binging Sopranos on like HBO and whatnot.
Man, I love The Sopranos. Probably my favorite show of all time, right there.
Did you see the Penguin?
No, I haven't. I've
Dude,
been in a weird place where I haven't really been watching anything. I just been I've been watching a lot of speaking of gaming, I'm into like the Call of Duty, like the League. So I've been
yeah.
watching a lot of that. That's probably like the only thing that I have on my rotation that isn't any like learning or any like fucking educational content. But
I got
my question to you is how the fuck did you get to Owu, dog?
you. Lacrosse has the big tie-in for that. I was looking to play lacrosse in college. Like, okay, I want to do this. I want to, be a college athlete, all that kind of stuff. Make money under the table because you couldn't do it back then legally. No, I'm kidding.
NIL or whatever
It was
that is
it
called?
was
Yeah.
yeah, dude. It was Division 3, man. Like no one was paying money. It was also lacrosse. Like people don't get paid money to do that anyway. But so I was looking at some schools and they started falling through, whether it was my grades in high school weren't good enough or they picked another kid. And my high school coach, he used to be a head coach in DC, and he had a goalie that played for him in DC that went to OWU, was a 4-year starter there. Ryan McMahon, I don't know if you remember him. He would have been a senior when you were a sophomore. And so he talked to the head coach at OWU, Mike Planholt, and he was like, "Yeah, we don't have a goalie for the 2014 class yet. Just swing them by." And yeah. So when I went to high school, to backtrack a little bit, tell this story to tell another story. Well, I'm a very superstitious person. I'm not so much anymore because it can drive you crazy. But I like my routines. I like that kind of stuff. When I visited my high school, the power was out of the school. It was hot. It was miserable. But going to that high school ended up being the best decision I had made in my life at that time. When I visited Ohio Wesleyan, the power's out.
Oh shit.
I can't get into any building. My tour was 5 minutes because the guy's access key could not get in anything. And so I'm back in Plano's office at the 5 minutes. He's like, "Do you hate it? Like what?" He's like, "No, I couldn't get into anything." But I'm like, It's fine. I'll figure. I can look at pictures of it. Okay." And I had an overnight visit. It was an overnight visit too. That was a great time. It was first college party. It was awesome. And when I'm in the car ride back with my parents and my mom's like, "You realize the power was out when you went to Chestnut Hill to visit?" I'm like, "Oh,
Mm.
you're right. It was." And I don't like to say 100% of my decision was based around that, but I will confidently say about 80% of it was. And it turned out to be a great decision in the long run, so I'm glad it worked out. So being superstitious isn't always bad. I don't recommend
Divine
it.
shit, dog.
Yeah, I don't recommend making all your decisions off of good, but only the big important ones.
That's funny, dog. That's that's some divine shit, dog. If you could explain it to someone, that's some divine shit, right? To have the same event happen to you when you're about to make the decision. Like it's two decisions with the same
Yeah.
fucking event, bro. That's crazy, dog. That's some shit you right. That's some in the stars type shit. What is that
Yeah,
quote? Like written in the stars?
yeah, when I give like my government answer, I'm like, oh well, it had a good education department, had everything I was looking for, like it
Yeah.
had a good endowment. But when I tell people like, you want the real story, dude, the power was out, and I was like superstitious. I'm like, I gotta do this. I looked into nothing else about the school.
That's dope. Yeah, that's sometimes it is like that. I'm kind of the same way, dog. I do make my decisions sometimes. Like if I have something like that, oh, that's happened to me before already, dog. Like I'm in the right place at the right time,
Yeah, dude, your
type
gut
shit.
feeling. Sometimes you gotta just trust your gut on certain things. Be like, throw the analytics out the window, throw all the data out the window. Be like, nah, we're just gonna do this. Just figure it.
Yep.
Well, I just got a feeling.
Yep. And then okay, so you already had visited Owu, right? So your first day wasn't technically your first day, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
already have some knowledge of the environment, right? So freshman year comes around, you're playing lacrosse. At what point did you make your way to Fido? Because I don't remember that.
So my roommate was, so it's funny. My roommates were Pat Monahan and Will Altier, who you both have on, who had on already.
My boys, dog.
Yeah, all playing lacrosse. All my friends were like lacrosse guys. During our fall break, I went back home. I went to my high school because a big thing, like a lot of alumni after they graduate, when they come back from fall break, they come back, they like go into classes, they talk about some stuff. And I was talking to my history teacher, Mr. Parker, RIP. He passed away 2017. He great guy. He told me, he's like, you hang out with the lacrosse guys? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. He's like, a piece of advice, branch out. Don't be with one group of people. He goes, you weren't with one group of people at Chestnut Hill. Don't do it at Oakwood. I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, how the fuck do I do that? I only know lacrosse guys. I'm not good about just like, I'm not good at cold calling people and being, hey, you want to like
You
kind
want to
of
be my
hang out?
friend?
Yeah, I'm not good at that kind of stuff. Like I need like an in. I like having an in. I like having to know someone to be like if I reach out to someone like, hey, I got your number. Like when I like
There
where
needs to be a
for
reason. There needs to be a
yeah,
reason. Yeah.
yeah, like for coaching, if we need film from another team, I don't like to cold call the coach. I mean, I have to sometimes, but there are times where it's like I like to find someone that they know that I know and be like, "Hey, so and so gave me your
Mhm.
contact info. Can I get that?" It just feels a little bit better than like, "Hey, I need film on this team. I don't know anything about you, and I don't really care." It feels like that. But so we get back from fall break, and about a week or two after that, you guys had your Thanksgiving dinner to for recruits for people to come see the fraternity. And Will Altier, Big Dirty, a bunch of those guys were all like on the lacrosse team, and like Z Mills, like those guys were all like, "Hey, we want to go. Come with us." I'm like, "Okay." It was my first day at the fraternity. I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. You guys got a chef. That's cool." Little do I know, Andy Wright, the chef in the future, would turn out to be one of my favorite people ever. Like that guy. But I'm there, like we're going around. We're brothers are introducing ourselves. Like we're clowning around. It's not super serious. I'm like, okay. My friends like these guys. No one's taking themselves seriously. This doesn't seem like a super serious thing. I'm like, okay,
Bunch of
because a
fools in
lot
a
of the
mansion.
yeah, because you have that preconceived notion about fraternity life, and I'm looking around at the guys, and I'm like, nah, this feels different than like what I know fraternity or what I assumed fraternity life was.
Well,
And
elephant
so
walks and shit.
yeah, I mean, fun. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you gotta have fun, you gotta have fun somewhere. I mean, I ain't got no problem. Whatever people float your boat.
Uh,
But we got yeah, and so after I get my contact info to whoever the recruiting chair for you guys was at the time. We go winter break. I get a like a Merry Christmas text from I think it was Jamie. Gave me a Merry Christmas text because he was the president at the time, right?
yeah, he
Yeah,
was. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, he was because your second semester sophomore year
Oh,
he was.
he was going into.
He's going into presidency. So
Yeah.
at Christmas time, he like texted me like, "Oh, cool." And then January hits, and that's when like the big rush all kind of starts for the fraternities. And you know, a couple of you guys are all like, "Oh, what house is where else are you looking?" I'm like, "Just here. It's the only one I ventured into. I liked it, so I didn't see the need to like look at other ones." I know the lacrosse guys are big on like, "Oh, you should join Fiji." At the time, I'm like, "You guys don't even have a house." Like, and I was also thinking in the back of my head, I'm like. I literally was just given advice to not be around the same group of people all the time. And like that fraternity was all lacrosse guys. I'm like, I'm thinking like this is a way for me to be in a different group with different people. And again, it's not like I'm cold calling asking to join. Like, they're asking me, like my friends are doing. I got people joining with me. I'm like, okay, this is different. And so, I get that bid, I join it, and it was, I had a blast pledging. I thought it was so fun. I'm like, we're some wild people. I love this. But again, we're not super serious, but we're all good people. That's what did it. Like, I don't like as long as people are good people, like that's what I thrive around. You can be as wild or as like chaotic, or I mean, look at some kids in our house, like we're like crazy 4.0 cum laude students, and it's like then you had kids that weren't. It was I liked it.
I look back at those times and I'm like, yeah, because I mean, it's easy to look at the rowdy times and shit to reflect, and those are fun, right? We did a lot of stupid shit, but there's also that that social part of it, because you're not gonna be friends with fucking 50 fools, dog. You're not.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna be cool with them, right? But you're gonna have that core group of fools and shit that you every day those are your best friends, right? And
yeah,
I didn't have I didn't have that, because I mean it's with pledging, right? With your pledge brothers, like you had some fools from the lacrosse team, obviously Willie P and fucking and all these other fools were there, but I was still kind of like, yeah, I knew Bo and I knew James and I knew a little bit about, but I didn't really have that. So it was like it was like a fucking it was a funny realization being on the other side when it would be like, oh, the lax kids, we need to make their plates for what was it, for dinner, right? And you
yeah.
fools were
Because we always had
eating.
practice started, and we were never were at dinner.
So you fools had like a little group within the group, right? And I didn't have that, and I didn't get to experience it. Same with the basketball players, that had a group within the group, and so I always felt like the outsider in my group, right? And then was that weird for being a group within the group, right? In terms of your pledge class, because even your group, like there was like multiple groups, right? Because you had the basketball kids and the lacrosse kids. Like we only had,
Yeah,
I think it was mostly, I mean, maybe like some two or three football players, right? So it was like football, lacrosse, basketball, and then there was everybody else like me. Was that kind of like a
yeah.
weird thing? Did you get any special privileges and shit?
I wouldn't say it was necessarily. It never felt weird to me. The part that did feel weird was I'm very much like I don't like to feel like I'm dragging anyone down, and I don't like to feel like I'm not doing my part. So like missing some of the stuff for pledging was like not my fault. Like I had to be at practice, had to be at games, but like I know like
What
guys were
do
doing stuff. Yeah, I'm like I wanted to be a, I wanted to help. I wanted to feel like I was doing my part. I wanted to help out, but like there were times like I just couldn't. So like whenever I could be at the house to help out, like on a weekend if I didn't have practice, like I mean I remember there was one day I was the all like golf was away. People like went home for the weekend because lacrosse had off, but I wasn't local, so I stayed on campus. And basketball was away, probably playing in Indiana or somewhere. And so I was the only pledge in the house this one entire Saturday. And from like
I remember that
9
day, fool?
9 a.m. to like midnight, I was just like doing anything I could to like make up because I felt like I had to make up for it. So someone asked me like, "Hey, can you do that?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was just like, I had to get to the point where I had to like write shit down to make sure I didn't forget.
I think I
But I was like,
remember
I
this
had
day though. I think I
Yeah, I
remember
was
this
like
day.
running around. It got to the point where some of the guys were like, "Yo, do you like you
Do
don't
you need
need to
help?
do that." Yeah, like some of the brothers were like, "Yo, do you need help?" I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm fine, but like I had to do that because I had such a complex of like I can't like not do my part. So I just did so much that day to just be like, all right, I feel like I caught up a little bit.
Mm. That was yeah, I mean, speaking of that whole thing, like it was fun. Right. I don't some people, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yo, some people had a horrible experience pledging. I had a fucking great experience. I was drunk 24/7, dog, and I mean that's probably the only reason I was able to join, right? Because you do hear about these stories, right? With these bigger schools, like, oh, you gotta do this and you gotta go through some crazy shit that I don't think I would have been comfortable going through, right? But
Yeah,
once you're on the other side, it's a whole different battle, right? Because now you have to actually be cool and communicate with all these fucking other people with their own life experiences and their own fucking way of looking at the world. What do you think? Well, all right. So before we say that, right, and then so we start we start getting cool because I'm starting to get cool with Willie.
mm,
right? And then eventually Will he puts in his papers and he retires, right? And you will still keep going. And to me, it was an interesting experience with the lacrosse team. And I talked about it in the story of Will Altair Part 2. I had, like a weird relationship with some of the life kids, not because they were like full on assholes, right? But I was just never felt, comfortable around them. What was that? What was that like being a lacrosse player and then choosing a whole different, that's a whole different environment because you were kind of like an outsider, right? If you
Mhm.
want to describe it, you were within the team, but you were an outsider in the lacrosse team. How was that like?
I was I remember when I first like said I was pledging final. I know I caught a little bit of flack. It wasn't like super serious flack, but there was some
Everybody
like,
did.
oh yeah, it was like I remember like our coach was like a little concerned because there are so many guys that had joined Phi Delta that had quit the lacrosse team, like a historical like run of that. And then like I was like the first one to not do that because I'm like, well, no, I can do both. I mean, I like both. But no, I mean, my freshman year, I say my freshman and sophomore year, I definitely did feel like an outsider because like when I get to my sophomore year, the guys that pledged with me that played lacrosse had all quit, so I was the only one left. Some of the guys that I was closer with had quit or like transferred out that weren't in Fidel. So it was like I definitely my freshman sophomore year on the lacrosse team, I felt like an outsider, but and I never felt excluded. It was more like when I didn't go to stuff, it was definitely like more of a choice. I was at Fidel over the lacrosse like social events, definitely. But then like my junior, senior year, I feel like I did a very good job of like meshing both and not only just like being involved in both heavily, but meshing it to the point where it's like lacrosse guys were at Fidel stuff, Fidels were at lacrosse stuff. Like it was a good mesh. Now we also had more lacrosse guys in the house my junior and senior year, so that helped with bringing that all together. But it was funny. I remember my senior year, we had we had the our like Christmas exchange in the foyer, and a lot of people came over afterwards, and a bunch of the lacrosse guys that were my age were there. And I remember them being, man, we should just rush Fight Out now as seniors and just have fun.
We got that shit on record, baby. Let's go. I mean, this is a little bit of part of me that's like, we still got a little bit of that pride in there. It's been years ago, years and years ago, right? There's still a little bit of that pride in there, but it was like that,
There
dog.
is.
It was a basketball. They called it the basketball house for, because we had a basketball court and all these fools were from the basketball team. So historically, the basketball team kind of ran that house. But to have a lacrosse player not only still play lacrosse, but eventually became the fucking president, right?
Yeah.
What do you think what do you think helped you become a president, helped you become the leader of the house? What quality you feel helped you out in that?
I feel like my biggest thing is like what I also ran on, I guess you could say, for the thing was like I like to lead by example. And so when it came to just do it, and that's like kind of like the platform I was wanted to follow was like I want to, lead by example. Like I'm, when if I'm doing if it's my doing to kitchen duty, like I'm doing the best that I can, like just to set an example. Same thing I went into like lacrosse with. Like I wasn't playing on the field that much, but I was setting an example in like the weight room and like the conditioning stuff, like showing that okay, even though I'm not the number one guy, like I'm still giving it my all when I can. And so when it became time to, do the president stuff, it's like, all right, I'm not going to be perfect at this job. Like I'm definitely going to mess up, but I'm going to try, my best to serve. I would say I'm a big believer in like servant leadership, where when you're in a leadership role, you're in like a leadership role to serve those around you. So when I being president is like that, okay, I want to do the best I can in a way to serve my brothers who trusted me in this position.
I think it was a tough position to be in, right? Because I got to see Perkio go through it. I seen James go through it. I seen Tiflin go through. Tiflin went through it. It went through it. I'm pretty sure, if I ever get a chance to get my boy Drew in here, like he probably went through it the most. Because
Yeah.
he was there during that fuck around time and shit. It was an interesting time. But when you're a senior, right? I wasn't there for this, but you're you're at the you're in the leadership role, then you kind of become like the guru, right, of the house, right? Because now you're helping the next generation become their own leaders in their own way, right? And
Mhm.
we're gone. How were you preparing for life outside of OU?
I mean, I was so when I'll kind of take it from two parts because like at this point it's like I'm starting to do field work for education, so I'm getting into classrooms around the area. And so whenever I can, I was always a very observant person, and I like to just so like whenever I was in a classroom helping out, I was always observing what the teacher was doing. Like, okay, what are they doing to be successful right now? What's working for them? What's not? I was again kind of like with the perspective thing. You got to keep an open mind when you're learning from other people, seeing like, hey, oh, I don't, I don't agree with what they're doing, but why are they doing it? Does it work for them? Does it not work for them? And same with the lacrosse side of it too. Like I realized, like, okay, I'm not gonna be an All-American. I sat on the bench all 4 years in college. I accepted that. I was a role player, and so I was spending a lot of my time just kind of learning the coaching side of it and like learning from the coach, seeing what they're doing, how do they run practice, doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So I was preparing for my role as like an educator off and on the field whenever I could, just by learning, keeping track of, okay, as a lead. And when I was doing teaching interviews to get a job, one of my things was like, I mean, I think I could control a classroom of 30 kids. I was able to decently handle a house of 30, 40, 21 year olds, and we not get in trouble. So that was my thing. I'm like, I was able to manage this. I think we could manage a classroom. And that honestly did work a bunch of times because, like, I just remember, there are times where it's like, I remember times where I messed up as president, and then that honestly helped me handle stuff in the classroom because you got to be, that's the big thing. You got to be consistent. Like, I can't deal with a situation one way and not deal with it another way without someone getting upset about that. It's the same as a classroom.
Yeah, fools. I've had my own fair share, right? I'm not gonna sit here and be like I was the perfect fucking fool there, right? I think I just feel like I got a lot of leeway just because, it was me, right? But I did see a lot of times that fools would go to the president and be like, whoa, nah, like we should do it like this, and then we have times sometimes the president might have fucked up and it would be easy to be like, how are you gonna tell me to do this if I just seen you do that, right, the
Yeah.
other day, right? So I could see how that, might have helped you, when you
Yeah.
became an
It's
educator.
the
Fool.
it's the leading by example thing. Like, I can't who am I to tell someone, oh, you need to drink out of a styrofoam cup, not the beer can, if I'm not doing it myself, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was a big thing for me. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to at least do it. And honestly, half the time, especially with the younger guys in the house, like when I was a senior, it definitely helped with the young guys. Like, they see me in a styrofoam cup, I don't need to say anything. They just know, like, okay, like we should probably do this. And but that comes like with being a teacher, it comes with the respecting. If your students don't respect you or your brothers don't respect you, they're not going to listen to you. If you don't have that respect, you got to build respect, and respect comes from being consistent. Same with being a coach. I mean, it comes from being consistent, and if you have your values, principles, following those, and that that might have lead to some tough conversations, some tough decisions, but you got to do what you got to do.
Now you graduate, right? You leave Ohio Wesleyan University. I feel like I should have
Hmm.
established that. We've just been
Yeah,
calling it OU. So easy to call it OU, but you leave Ohio Wesleyan University, you move. Where do you go?
I go, I go right into Columbus. I got a teaching job in Columbus, and so I was down on the southeast side for my first 2 years of teaching off of Hamilton Road. And then the next 4 years, I was at uh, high school on the south side of near. I was on the far south side. Then I went to the near south side, and now I'm still in Columbus, and now I'm at the intervention center downtown for still same district, but it's Franklin County Intervention Center. So it's for juveniles who are awaiting trial, who are charged with felonies.
Yeah, That's a great
It's a
word
different.
right there. But before we get into education, into your experience of your education world, right out of college, right, which is common for a lot of people, you want to leave college and you still have the college, the rowdy in you, right? How far into your post-college life that rowdy fucking feeling in there, or was it even there? Did you leave right away and you're like, I'm done with this shit. I'm gonna fucking be on my fucking be on my fucking good boy behavior.
I would say my first year and a half out of school, it definitely decreased a lot just because, I mean, with my job, I mean, I have to report to work at 7:15 a.m. So, during the week, I was like, I can't do anything. Like, I'm up at 6,
Yeah,
6:30. So I'm like, I like sleep. I don't like being tired. And being in education, if you're tired or hungover around kids, it's the
it's a wrap.
worst.
It's a wrap,
It's
dog.
it's the worst. You might as well just not come in. So I never want to do that. So like the only times I really did anything social was like, Friday, Saturday. But Friday after a full week, I'm like, I'm toast. I'm going to bed at like 8 o'clock. I was done. So Saturday really became it. So it wasn't even necessarily like, oh, it's because I wanted to. It's just like out of necessity, just like with taking care of myself. I'm like, dude, there are so many times my friends are like, you come out. I'm like, dude, I'm exhausted, man. This job is, you know, teaching's exhausting. Being with kids is exhausting. I liked it, but it was exhausting. So Friday, I'm like making dinner. I'm putting on a movie. I'm treating myself. And if I fall asleep at 7 o'clock, I fall asleep at 7 o'clock, and I wake up whenever. But, Saturday, my first year and a half, I definitely, you know, got around to it. But then like a year and a half in, COVID hit. You couldn't go out,
Mm.
and so, you know, I wasn't a big fan of just like drinking and getting obliterated at my house or like with my roommates all the time. So I'm like, we all kind of settled down. And then like when COVID, all that stuff ended, I was so used to like taking it easy that it just kind of coasted the rest of the way. Because I had met my current fiance, I had met her right before COVID hit. So we had been dating for like 2, 3 months, COVID hit. And so we can't really go out. So we spent a lot of time just together, just chilling. And so most of our relationship, like the first like 6 months of our relationship, half of it, or even, I mean, honestly, the first 9 months, I'd say all the 6 of the 9 months, the first one was like we are just chilling because it's all we could do. We're not allowed to do anything else. And so we just got so used to chilling that you're with her a bunch, and so you're just chilling a lot. That's so definitely it died down quick, partially because of work, because of like a whole pandemic that occurred. So all that stuff.
How'd you meet your fiance, dog? Let's get into that real quick.
Oh, internet, Hinge, like
Oh, you
one of
met
those
her on
apps.
Hinge?
Yeah, dude, I know so many people that met their like wives or fiancés or girlfriends off the
What the fuck? Is
Hinge,
that real?
Bumble. Yeah,
This is a real
Hinge,
thing?
Bumble, all that stuff. Her one friend, I mean, she met her current husband that she's about to have a second kid with. They met on Tinder in college, so it's like
The fuck?
it was funny, dude. I remember I knew one kid in college. His sister, it was like our sophomore year of college. His sister was getting married to a guy she met on Tinder, and we're like, oh, that is so crazy. Like you met on an app. Now it's
Yeah.
the norm almost.
I guess
Now
still
you
get
meet someone. Yeah,
all
now
those
you meet
fucking
someone
Bumble
that.
apps. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? On YouTube and shit, all those Bumble ads and shit.
yeah, dude. Now you meet someone and they're like, "Oh yeah, I met my significant other in person." Like, oh wow, that's strange. Didn't think that would happen ever.
And then what was your first date like?
Well, the first date was pre-COVID, so I mean, we just went to the. I'll do this thing. So she likes hiking like nature stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay. It's like late October. I'm like, oh, let's go to like Park of Roses. This is park in Columbus. It's like some rinky-dink park. It's all right. I'm like, oh, let's go here. We can walk around. I forgot how time works. And so like we get there at 7, it's already fucking dark. So we can't see anything. So we're like, all right. So we go to like a bar
Shit.
instead. We go to a bar instead, and that was that's how it was where I could like see. That's
I
how it
mean,
was.
he said I lost track of time.
Yeah, I forgot how time worked. It's like, oh yeah, in late October the sun sets way sooner than it usually does. So like 7 o'clock. I can't see anything.
So that was it at a bar. Oh, that's funny as fuck.
First, oh yeah, ended up being it.
Ooh. Where'd you propose to her? I'm off of social media, fool, so I don't know what the fuck's
Oh
going on
yeah,
with
no.
any of you fools and shit.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, so we went to this. There's a national park in West Virginia called New River Gorge. All the trails are dog friendly, so we took our dogs there and we I did it there. We went to so she's from Brazil. We went to Brazil for 2 weeks in the summer. My original plan was like, oh, I'll do it there. Your family's there, and she's like, no, I don't do it there. She's like, because we're going for her grandpa's 90th, and she's like, I don't want it. She goes, if you propose to me there, it will be about me. And she's like, she didn't want it to be about her, so she's like, no, don't do it there. Just wait till we're like away. We're in some like real small. We just stayed at like an Airbnb. It's a small town in West Virginia. Let me tell you, this town, I think it was like Oakwood, West Virginia. I forget the name, but dude, the food there is incredible. I was shocked at how good the food was in this small town. It was awesome.
Now you're about to get married, right? You're about to get married?
Yeah, November 2025.
Boom. Biggest thing you've learned, or yeah, biggest sacrifice that you've had to make.
In what regard, just in general?
No, just from the relationship.
Oh, oh yeah. Dude, to be honest, no, dude, she's super chill. I haven't had to make like any sacrifices. Like I can still coach. I can still like do what I want. She's super laid back. Like there'll be during the spring when it comes to practice, like there might be a day where I'm there from like 5 p.m. to like 10:30. I'm like, I'll be back at 10:30. She's like, all right, cool. See you then.
So she's from Brazil. She didn't go to school out here?
No, so she's from Brazil, but she moved to America when she was 6. So
Mm.
she's bilingual. She's fluent in both languages. Her parents are fluent as well, but they have an accent. They have an accent. Her and her sister don't have accents. But
For
yeah, no,
sure.
dude, I looked out. She's super chill about like everything.
Did you ever get to tell her about those OWU stories and shit?
Oh yeah, she's met a lot of the OWU guys. She knows all the stuff that happened at Final. She knows lacrosse stories. She knows so much. She has a deranged sense of humor like I do, so it works out. She's like, oh, that's funny.
The range sense of that's all I gotta that's the only thing you had to tell me, dog. I get it now. I fucking get it now.
Yeah.
So now going into your education experience, right? Working in the education world, how'd you get your first job right out of college? You said your first
I
job
mean,
was in what part of Columbus was it again?
the far southeast.
Far
So like,
southeast.
I was like just near to inside 270. I was as far southeast as you can be before getting out of the outer belt. But like, dude, like I had interviews in like Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton, I was all over the place, and like this was the last place I interviewed. I was like, I gotta take the first job offer I get because it's July at this point. Like school
Mm.
starts in August. It's the end of July. School starts in 2 weeks. I don't have a job still. I think I was just bad at interviewing, realistically, because I could get an interview, then I just wouldn't get the job. But so I got this one. But I mean, it was good because this job is like I was the one history teacher, so I taught every subject at this school. So it was a lot, but like it was the hardest teaching job I've had. So I was there for 2 years. COVID hit. I'm like, okay, I want to do something where I'm not teaching 6 different classes. So then I get to a school. I teach, it's a 7 through 12 building on the near south side of Columbus where I teach in 8th grade. And so I teach one course 5 times a day for different 8th grade classes. So it was like I got paid a lot more switching to this school and I was doing less work. I'm like, okay, I can do this. But then after 4 years, I'm like, I mean, I'm still teaching now, but after 4 years, so 6 years in education at this point, I'm like, I feel like I'm not getting out of education what I wanted to. Like, I wanted to feel like I was making an impact, but like, I'm not seeing it. And it's for various reasons, like, because I feel like, kids are checked out. The, the area where we were, education is valued a little differently than other places. It was, it was tough, especially like post COVID. Like, kids have no attention spans anymore. And
Mention of
so,
a fly, dog. What is it like?
yeah,
8 seconds or some shit like that? I forgot what
yeah,
it was.
it's crazy. It's like kids like their attention spans are just so bad. Phones were a distraction. And I just was like, okay, this is not working. This is not working for me. So then I moved internally to the Franklin County Juvenile Intervention Center, and this has been the best teaching job I've ever had. This is amazing. This is the best year of teaching I've ever had because one, your class size, the biggest class I have is 12, the smallest I have is like three. It's dynamic in that I have, I see different students all the time because they're coming in and out. I like that part because I get to meet so many kinds of people, so many different stories. You learn so many different stories just being here. You know, I don't have to, I don't really have to deal with discipline. I can control my classroom, but small class size and there's a corrections officer in there with you. So I mean, discipline's not really a big thing. So I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to, I don't have to do all the stuff that makes teaching not fun. Like I get to actually teach,
Mm.
which is cool. And like my whole entire afternoon is credit recovery. So I got kids in there that are like 18, 19, 20, 21 that they're not on the GED track. They can still get their high school diploma. And so they're like 2 credits. So there's some kids that I'm like, there's this one kid when we get back from winter break, he's 1 credit from getting his high school diploma at 20. And it's like that thing that I got into education for. Like I'm literally seeing it in front of me, like, okay, I'm helping this kid graduate. So when he when he does his time or doesn't, whatever, because he's waiting trial here. He's charged with the felony, he's not convicted. So, whenever he's done doing what he needs to do, he has his high school diploma. It's less likely, hopefully, that he gets back into the system. He can, get a job with that diploma. So the impact that I've wanted to have as a teacher, I really feel like I'm having now being in a correctional facility.
Hey, props to you, dog. That is great work right there. I love youth work. I'm a youth worker through and through. I might not be there anymore, might not be at a physical site anymore, but everything that I do is for the future, dog. It's for the future generation, is for the youth. I worked in the after school programs for a long time. What was the biggest thing that you learned while you were working at the two other schools?
Yeah, well, when I was at two other schools, it's one of these things, and from Well, I take this quote from a former Ohio State professor, Terrell Strayhorn. He has a quote that says, not every child has a dad. Not every child has a mother that loves them. Not every child has food on the table. But in the United States, every child is guaranteed a teacher, which is like a powerful message that I keep in my head. So when I was at these former schools, and even at my current school, when you get, because you're going to have kids that frustrate you. You've worked with kids. There are kids that just love to poke the bear all the time. And it's like resiliency from those first two schools is really what I learned because times are tough, but you got to remember, I remember that quote being like, this kid's situation, they're in this situation is not really their fault. Like they were brought into this situation. Now, what I like to instill in kids, what I try to instill, is like your situation that you were brought in is not your fault. It's not your fault you were born into a struggling household. It's not your fault you were born with whatever external factor is like inhibiting your growth. But it is your situation. And so what I try to instill kids like where you are most likely is not your fault, but what you do now that you're in that position, that you have control of. So it's trying to teach them to, kind of build the maturity of, how do you navigate to make the best of your situation? Which when as at my first two schools, you had a lot of kids who really lacked that guidance. And so while it was good work, I felt, to give some of those kids that guidance, it was exhausting. Like I mean, working with kids just in general, but like the mental exhaustion of like, you're trying super, super hard, like you're doing all this stuff, and then the kid still doesn't, you know, do the work or like still gets in the fights. It's like, ugh, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it is exhausting. I just the biggest piece of advice I ever got. Well, it was two biggest piece of advice that I ever got. The first one is meet them where they're at, right? And I feel like to me that
Yeah.
was easy for me, right? Because for a long time I was still, I realized it. It took a little like little crush of the ego, a little of little reflection, right? After sobriety,
Hmm.
that mentally I was still kind of like them. So it was easy for me to talk their
Yeah.
language. It was easy for me to relate to them because I was still kind of participating in the same activities that these fools were doing. I was still doing stupid shit, right? We were still out there, like especially when I work at the high school right here, close to my neighborhood. I had family members that were there. So it wasn't like I could have hide who I was. I'd be like, nah, if I remember you were at that family party fucking chugging brews and shit, smoking fucking weed with my, whatever. So it was
Hmm.
hard for me to try to separate the professionalism from the rowdiness. So I was rowdy through and through.
Yeah.
I was
Especially
there.
you being at a young age.
Yeah, yeah. So I was
Oh,
there. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck about the rules. I didn't give a fuck about being professional. I still dress the same way. I mean, obviously, I got fucking hand tattoos, which obviously it doesn't really matter. But in the position that I was in, it was kind of hard for me to like to tell the youth something, and it was hard for me to lead by example. So it was the only thing I had for me was I'm gonna tell them stories. So I'm gonna tell them these life stories of people that I know in my time in Ohio and growing up in South Central, and try to figure out a way to tell these stories, but give them like a piece of advice through the stories. Right?
hmm.
It was hard for me to be like, you should go to college, you should do this, you should do that. It was more of like, oh, I did this like this. If I'm in your position, I would do it like that. So it was always for me, try to meet them where they're at. It was also easy to meet them when they were at because sometimes I would walk by the park and these fools are all blazing it and these fools are drinking and these fools are gangbanging and shit. And I'm like, I mean, what am I gonna do, dog? Like, I mean, I wasn't a gang member, fool, but I was doing the same shit they were doing at their age, right? So I kind of
Yeah.
understood what they were about, and I understood their struggles. And like I said, it was hard for me to hide who I truly was, who I was. So I had to play into that because it was easier to get the youth to come in and open up. I think to me that was like the other big piece of advice is whatever works for you, lean into that.
Hmm.
So it was, I would meet them where they were at, and then I was myself. I was myself 100%. And sometimes I would be like, "Hey, Omar or O3, like, how are you so like how do you have this fool open up and every other teacher struggles to talk to him?" I was like, it's like cuz I'm not a teacher. I'm not trying to talk to this fool. Like I'm listening to this fool,
Yeah.
And then maybe yeah, I'm telling him a story here and there, right? And it'd be like, you shouldn't tell him stories because it might influence him to do things. So I was like, "Hey, I don't have to tell him shit. They're gonna do it anyways,
Yeah.
right?"
It's all about that respect thing too.
Yeah.
You gotta show your kids that like, you're human, that you do these things, and you're trying to mentor them at the same time. Because I mean, you'll see there. I mean, the biggest thing, like people, especially that teach an urban education, like if you can't relate to the kids, you're gonna get nowhere.
It's a rap, dog.
You're
They're gonna
you're
stomp
done.
all over you. They're gonna eat you
Yeah,
up.
yeah, and like it doesn't even have to matter like who you are or like where you are. If you can relate, you can relate. Like there are guys, like there's a guy that's been teaching. I work with him. He's 80 years old, still teaches at the JIC. I mean, there are people like they always make the thing like there's this old teacher at East High School in Columbus, which that school I would say is probably 99% black. He's you know and he's an old dorky white dude. He's been teaching there for like 20 something years. Now I don't know if it was East High School, but that's that example of like how does that guy do that? Well, he relates to the kids. Relationships are everything, especially with today's youth.
They would be like, "Hey, so I like to talk about the high schoolers, but then even I was working at in Santa Monica this year. It was the first time that I was sober around the youth, so I was a little bit more mature, and I was still kind of like thinking like them, but I'm in a different place now and with my life and my mind, and so it was." it was hard for me personally to try to relate to them because it would force me to go to there, right? It would force me to go to that spot, a spot that I worked so hard to try to like mentally leave, but it was just like a confirmation thing. Is like, if I really wanted to, I could take it as far as I could, but I don't really see myself doing this kind of work anymore.
Mhm.
And even the youth, it's one thing when your staff and your peoples tell you like, oh, you're doing a great job, but when the youth, respond to you, dog, right? Especially like the ones that are quote they're labeled the bad kid. They're not bad kids,
Mhm.
right? But when they're labeled a bad kid and you're able to break through to them and they're able to and they tell you straight up like, hey, dog, I fuck with you. Like that's a that shit stays with you and shit.
Yeah.
That really stays with you because it's you wish that every other teacher that works with that one specific youth could understand and could relate to them, but they won't, and so it sucks. And sometimes I wish I would replicate my experience and put it in like multiple versions of myself that I could be at different schools, right? Because the more languages that there are, the more youth you could reach. And by
Yeah.
language, I mean like if I say fool and dog and I talk a certain way, my mannerisms, and I understand a certain, street element out here. All these schools, they all have the same kinds of youth, right? They all have similar backgrounds. So if I go in there and I'm like, what's up, my boy? What's up, fool? I guarantee you, like a gang of fucking kids are gonna be like, he talks like my older brother, or he talks like my older cousin,
Yeah.
or he talks like the big homie. Like, let me listen to this fool right here. And so that to me right there was I played into that a lot. It would
Yeah.
get me in trouble. It would get me in trouble and shit. But I better ask for forgiveness and for permission.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely with that one, especially when it comes to the education, you got to do what you can to relate to the kids, and if that helps you relate, get speaking their language as you just said. Like, I mean, that's a huge thing because it's a respect thing. They feel like you respect them. Because some kids, if you're speaking completely proper and all this stuff, they either don't relate to it or they just might view it as a disrespect thing, like, oh, you think you're better, but you start using the same lingo, all that stuff. It's something they can relate to.
Yeah, they would I would always throw the employee handbook out the window for be like, man, fuck all this shit. Like I know what works for me. It was hard for me to work with the younger kids. The elementary
Hmm.
school kids, I didn't know that language. That was hard for me to work with elementary school kids. What grade levels you ever end up working with?
So I've worked with all levels from 8th through 12th grade. I mean, now it's like I'll get a kid who is like in 7th grade, maybe. And then, I got kids that are graduates or that are graduates, but they're like 18, 19, 20. So at this school, I mean, I'm teaching kids anywhere between the ages of like 14, 15, all the way up to like 19, 20, 21. I spent most of the time with 8th graders though. My last school for 4 years, I was mostly with 8th graders, I'd say that entire time. Middle school's a different breed, let
It
me
is
tell
a
you.
different.
I much
It's a
prefer high
different.
school.
Uh,
Much prefer high school.
one one final question about education, and you kind of mentioned it about, and we talked about at the beginning, this whole post-pandemic education world.
Yeah.
Biggest concern that you have.
I mean, I'd say like it's really I'd say it's really brought to light the mental health side of like what kids have to deal with how exposed they are online, like with just being chronically online. Like I couldn't tell you the amount of times fights started because someone DM'd someone on Instagram. Like it's or like drama that's coming from being on the internet. Like my biggest concern is just like the the stuff that kids have access to when they're developing mentally. I mean, it's messing with like their body image. It's messing with like their sense of like being, all that stuff. It's hard for them to form and really discover who they are when they're developing, when they see all these things about like what a man's supposed to be or like a woman's supposed to look like, all this kind of stuff. It's really that side that concerns me with that, with the rise in the use of the internet, social media, all that stuff, because it affects the classroom.
I think one of the biggest things that I saw, one of the biggest issues that I saw after the pandemic related to Zoom was that there's a generation of youth, bro, that is just like they're so used to working on a computer
Yeah,
that it's hard for them to have a teacher, right? Because their teacher is in front of them, like it's a fucking video,
yeah.
right?
Like the new age education wants
Yeah,
teachers to be facilitators, not necessarily
yeah,
like
fuck that,
the
dog.
teacher anymore. It's crazy.
Like that, I was working at the high school, right? I refer to it because I was there the longest. But after the pandemic, I came back one time and I went into the class and all the youth had computers, these Chromebooks, and I was like, "Oh, is this a new teacher?" They're like, "No, they're not. There's not a teacher. They're just they're what are they called? The rotating facilitator. So they go to different schools and they just facilitate that one class because they're employed by the, I think is they're employed by the company that
Hmm.
creates the program or something like that, right? That creates the curriculum on the computer. And then you see some of the youth who are just like locked the fuck in and they're doing well on the fucking on the online learning courses, but then they put them back in a traditional classroom and they're out of control or they
Hmm.
don't participate, right? They either become introverted or they get too loud, right? And this is like, damn, the dynamic that you see now between the youth that are used to the computers compared to the youth that, are just strictly taught in traditional classrooms.
Yeah.
You ever see something like that in your time working at the schools?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we have computers at the JIC. They don't have internet access, but they have the apps that we use from the district. I mean, those all those kids. I mean, because now, I mean, like my oldest kid was probably born like 2005,
Mm.
I'd say. Youngest kids are being born like 2012, something like that. Some crazy like that, 2010. And so 2008, I think's the average. But I mean, those kids like you give them a computer, they can get locked in on the computer. But you try to do stuff without a computer, and it's just like, yeah, what you were saying, it's just like boom, boom, off the wall, off the wall. It's like they know computer education, everything else is like it's hard. It's hard for them.
Yeah, and then there's some of them that are like, "Oh, I finished my work. What am I still doing here? Let me go home."
It's like
Like,
it's
how do
not
you?
how that works. It's like it's
It's not
oh
how that
here.
works, big dog. Like, you still gotta be here. Um, yeah, education is it's an interesting topic. You said it yourself, like, there's a whole series. There's a need for a podcast, dog, to talk about. I mean, there's already multiple, right? But there's some one of those things where the more voices that are
Hmm.
out there, the more other teachers can learn from. Right? I learned so
Yeah.
much from just like listening from your perspective, being from a whole different state, working with a whole different set of youth, different environment. Right? It fucking snows out there. I'm pretty sure it don't snow over here. So even just
Supposed to
like
snow this
environmental shit
weekend.
like that, like I just bring that up. I hate the snow. If I just had to bring that out, like just. But when I tell them the youth, like, yeah, I lived in snow, and they're like, what the fuck? What is that? They're like, yeah, that's some shit you never want to experience, big dog, because that shit's so.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll be like, you want to experience that
It's
shit? It
cool
gets
when you're
cold.
young. That's it.
It's cool, but when you walk to when you're in the fucking in the trenches, dog, and you have none of the fucking right equipment to survive in the snow, you don't hate that shit. And I was like, that's me. Uh, before I left social media, now we're gonna talk about a different subject. We're gonna wrap it up real quick. Last conversation. Before I left social media, I did a little research on Instagram and I stumbled on your page, on your Instagram page, and there's a video on there of you. It's like a nice ass fucking video. I was like, don't tell me this was becoming a lacrosse influencer, right? But there's a nice ass video of you coaching lacrosse. Is that something you still do?
Oh yeah. No, I'm still coach. I know the video you're talking about. So during the summer from 12 to 1, I'm at this training facility called the Resolute Athletic Center over in Hilliard. And during the school year, I'm there Monday, Wednesdays from 6 to 7. So it's cool. It's an hour. They pay me to do it. I like the guys I work with, Justin Ignacio and Jack Jasinski. Like they're two guys that are basically my bosses. They're awesome dudes. They play pro lacrosse too. But yeah, they hire content guys because those two are big content dudes. Like they got YouTube channels. They do all their stuff, especially Ignacio. He's got like all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, that video came. I remember they posted that video, and a bunch of people sent that to me. It's like, damn, this is professional. I'm like, yeah. Luckily I didn't pay for it because that guy that does the videos, the high school where I coach, he does our highlight videos as well. So I see this guy all the time. And yeah, he does a great job with his content, with his video editing. That's why I tell kids, I'm like, you get yourself a camera and learn how to do video editing, you can make a good amount of money. This kid basically pays for he goes to Ohio State. He pretty much pays for his college by he follows three football teams, 5 grand each, it's 15K.
Mm.
Winter, he does basketball, three different teams, like 4 grand. That's 12K. Does our team for lacrosse, I don't know how much they give him. I'm assuming he's probably around the same, like 4 or 5K. So in a school year, he's a college kid, 15, 12. I mean, he's looking at like 32 grand in a year. Then he does summer stuff. Oh, you want to pay him to make your highlight tape like 100 bucks? Like, I'm like, the content's huge now. So I tell kids, I'm like, you can get yourselves on camera and learn how to edit production. There's a big market for videographers. It's not like it used to be where you're just holding the cameras. Like you're involved. Yeah, so he does a good job with that. Uh, Matt Reeder does a good job.
Biggest thing you've learned as a coach now being on the other side.
I was always told that when you become a coach, you're gonna miss playing. Like I remember playing hold at OU. OU would always say like, if I could just give my whistle up to play again, that's not me. I like coaching a lot more, man. Like I don't want to run sprints anymore. Like I don't miss that part. There's part
Shit.
like I remember I'm like after college I played 2 years of like men's league where it's just like guys that played in college that still try too hard. And I was a goalie. Guy comes down, winds up, shoots the ball, hits me right in the thigh. I save it. But I'm sitting there after that game. I'm like, I don't need to do this anymore. Like, I don't need to get hit with a ball at 100 miles an hour. And after that, I hung it up. I retired. I'm like, I'm not playing. I retired from men's league. So I'm like, I don't miss playing that much. I like the strategy and like the relationships and the mentorship of coaching a lot more than the playing part of it. I'm not gonna lie.
There was a lacrosse team that used to play at the OU Stadium. Do they still do that?
The Ohio Machine, no, they hung up their cleats because that league folded. There's a new pro league
Oh,
outdoor. They don't play. I wish they still played there because they drew some big crowds for that. I remember. No, the pro league there's no Midwest pro team right now, which is kind of upsetting. So they're working on it though. They're working on it. They're gonna add a team, but no, I wish they were still there. That was fun. Just go to those games in the summer. It's just like fuck around the whole time.
why the fuck? Why the fuck do you think lacrosse has never been able to break through and become a major sports league? Because
But
look, I'm gonna be
yeah,
real with you. Let me just set up some context because I remember I used to have fucking cable for like a year, 2 times in my
yeah,
life when I was a little kid, and then in 2006, and in Sports Center. You know how like fucking ESPN had like a fucking million channels at one point? I don't know if they still do.
yeah,
There was one
yeah,
time we stumbled upon there was like a lacrosse game, and my brother was like, "What the fuck is this?" And it was Duke versus somebody. And at the time, Duke University and basketball was like one of the best teams, right? Coach
mhm,
K, I think fucking JJ Redick. I don't know, might be off the timeline, but it was like, oh shit, it's Duke versus some other fucking college. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Right, fools like full gear, and there's a yeah, I thought it was like some soccer shit, right?
yeah,
Holy net is small, right? These was have a stick in their hand and they're throwing a ball. And I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is that lacrosse? I was like lacrosse, and it's weird because I just unlocked that memory the other day because when I went to a woo, it wasn't that I didn't know what lacrosse was. It was just I never understood it, but I always thought about like, well, back in the day they used to have these fucking games posted on ESPN, like live games. Over here is like probably top 5 teams in the school, right? And then you hear about the Ohio Machine and oh lacrosse this, lacrosse that. Why do you think lacrosse was never able to make it through into the mainstream?
I think it's obviously more popular now. Social media is helping it break through. Because like like today, did you watch the Georgia Notre Dame game at all today?
Well, I'm out the loop, dog. I have no idea what's going
Okay,
on.
so Georgia and Notre Dame were playing in the college football playoff today. One of Notre Dame's best receivers is also on the lacrosse team, so they kept bringing that up. So I mean, but the thing is, when I think what would break lacrosse through would be professional. Like the professional, that's what people see. That's like the top notch of every sport. It's still the only sport where college, I feel like, is more respected than the professional level. Now, pro indoor, like the Canadian style lacrosse, box lacrosse, that draws crowds. Like the the team in Buffalo, the Bandits, they play at where the Buffalo Sabres play, the the NHL team in Buffalo. They sell out that crowd all the time, like
Oh
16,
shit.
17,000 people. But it's not on TV that much compared to other sports. And my whole thing is like, if you look at like basketball, you look at baseball, you look at football. I mean, I'm not a big hockey guy, but hockey's a mainstream sport. You look at hockey too. Can you at least, you know, if you think football, let's think football, basketball, because those are the two sports that you and me both watch probably the most of pro. Can you think of a player that you absolutely hated?
That I hated? Oh,
Yeah,
I
like you
used
couldn't
to.
stand that player. Like,
Yeah, LeBron James. Fuck LeBron,
yeah,
dog.
or like in football, people hated Tom Brady all the time. Like pro lacrosse, there's no storyline. Like
Ah.
there's no villain.
There's no
There's no
WWE storyline and shit.
yeah, there's no like underdog team. Like when the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl my senior year of college, like it felt like everyone was rooting for the underdog Eagles. There's no storylines in pro lacrosse. There's no
Mm.
villains. Like they had one thing, the pro lacrosse league, like I think it was like 5 years ago. Two of the players got into a fight at the hotel, and the one bit the other one's finger off because
That's
they like
crazy.
fish hooked up. He fish hooked him and he bit his finger off, and they kicked both players out of the league. I'm like, no, keep those players in. That will draw attention. People are like, oh, I want to know. Like this made ESPN like Bleacher Report last week in a pro indoor lacrosse game. A fan was talking shit to a player, and it got too personal, and the player, while exiting the arena, knocked the fence out the way, shoved the fan, and then took a stick and whacked the fan with it, and it
Oh,
made
what the
like
fuck,
national.
dog?
Yeah, look it up. I forget the name, but look up pro lacrosse player attacks fan. I think the fan probably deserved it based on like what happened and like what was reported that was said. Like, fans get a little out of line. I got no problem if a player wants to pop a fan for saying something out of line. But it was like that. It was like like the sport needs to embrace like the villain, the bad boys, because that brings attention, because that creates storylines, that creates underdogs. That you know, people talk about, oh, like all the stuff with like, oh, we hate Christian Leitner, all that stuff when he was coming out of Duke. It's like all those like I hate Christian Leitner shirts. Christian Leitner made those. Like the sport needs to buy into the villain role for someone to gain attention. I feel like that would kind of push because people will like that stuff. People like the villain. They like the underdog. Lacrosse doesn't have a storyline that's interesting. They just play. It's like, yeah,
It's just a
like
sport. It's just a
it's just
sport.
a, it's just a sport on TV. Like if you had someone that people couldn't stand, people are going to tune in to watch them fail.
Mm.
Like that's a thing. Like they don't have that. Like people want to tune in to watch LeBron have a bad game. Now
Yeah.
he doesn't. He doesn't. People tuned in to try and see Michael Jordan fail. People tuned in because they wanted to see Tom Brady lose.
Which he never
Lacrosse
fucking
doesn't
did. He lost like what, twice? Three
something like or
times?
like yeah, I think like the pick six at the end of his Patriots career against the Titans. People like love that. But see, lacrosse doesn't have that. It's just dudes playing on TV. There's nothing.
Mm.
There's no story behind it.
I also think, I mean, it lacks the intangibles, right? It also feel like it also might be a coastal thing.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there's no lacrosse fields out here. I mean, USC does, right? I'm pretty sure
yeah.
USC
They got a
has
women's team.
they got a
Yeah,
cool little, team, but if you think about it, schools out here, football field, basketball gym, right? It's
yeah,
kind of hard to have a fucking hockey rink
yeah.
out here, but we have the fucking the Kings and that those should they do numbers, bro, at the Staples Center or Crypto
Hmm.
Arena, my bad. It does numbers and
It's
shit.
the Staples Center. You can call it the Staples
Yeah,
Center.
it's the
It's always
Staples
the
Center. You
Staples
know, I just for the people out there that are just straight fucking lames and shit. But the Staples Center, I'd never seen a lacrosse field besides. I mean, even at OWU, they were playing on the football field. It was like a fucking,
Center. Yeah.
it was like a all-in-one type shit. You feel
Yeah.
me? Like
There
there's
are,
never,
yeah, there are
not,
more schools now that have like lacrosse only facilities. Like Clemson's
yeah.
women's team built like a $50 million women's lacrosse
Oh,
facility.
what the fuck?
Ohio State has a men's and women's lacrosse facility and field. It's heated. It's very nice to play on. The team I coached played on it once. It was nice. So you're getting more and more of that. It's growing, but again, I think the thing is it's still very big at the college level. The
Nah.
pro level with television, it's like once you get that going, once you get really that to peak, I think the rest will follow.
Yeah, I think it does lack those intangibles because you have the players, you have the
Yeah.
money. Dog, I know, I'm pretty sure
They
there's
got,
money
yeah.
there, bro.
Oh,
There's
there's
money
money.
there, fool. But it does lack the storylines. It lacks the fucking facilities, the access to
Mhm.
facilities, the easy access to
Yeah, that's a big
facilities.
thing. Like, you go, how many basketball courts, how many open fields do you have near your house growing up where people could go play basketball, they could play pickup, they could go throw a football around, they could go kick the soccer ball, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
fool. Everywhere, dog. Like you could. It's also so easy to buy a fucking football. It's so easy to
Yeah,
buy a basketball and a basketball court and just
yeah.
have it in your backyard. It's
Lacrosse, you got to buy a stick, got to get a balls, you got to get a net. There's an initiative in Baltimore because Baltimore's a lacrosse hotbed, but what they've been doing is they want to do it's basically like a I forget the name of it, but they want to do like basketball courts where you can go to a field and they just have public lacrosse nets open for people just to shoot on. So I think you start doing that, make it's all about access too. I mean if for I mean hockey probably has less access than lacrosse, but hockey's been around longer. It's been on TV more, so they're more set up. But like you need to make it accessible because that's the thing. Lacrosse is not super accessible. Like I've worked for a program in Columbus called Urban Lacrosse Academy where they teach lacrosse at the local rec centers. Like I've done that, and that's fun. It's just you need more of that. You need more buy-in. You need to just make it more accessible. Because like, okay, yeah, we'll play it at the rec center, but then they get to high school, they don't have it at their high school. It's the accessibility that really hurts the sport as well, which I mean, accessibility is the key to a lot of things, a lot of success.
there's probably a lot of last point on lacrosse before we get to the final question. There's probably a lot of fools out there who have a lot of knowledge of lacrosse, like a lot of these influencer fools, like these big like mainstream media or like mainstream influencers with a big following that might know a thing or two about lacrosse, but because it isn't a part of the mainstream culture,
Mhm.
that knowledge just kind of just gets gets
Yeah,
stuck. Like who knows, maybe like Logan Paul or Jake Paul or like Kai Cenat or like all these big time streamers or maybe like I guess a Joe Rogan that could go in there and promote lacrosse. Like the access to media is so wide
yeah,
open now that there's opportunities for these lacrosse network type of fucking media companies to be made on top of the easy access facilities to be built on top of the to kind of like not coach the players
hmm
to be a villain or whatever, but tell them have a little bit more personality, dog, how to
yeah. That's the thing.
be somebody. What other thing, final point, what besides storylines, anything else you think would make lacrosse mainstream?
Kind of what we already talked about with the accessibility. You make it more accessible to kids
Okay.
from all cultures, all socioeconomic statuses. They're gonna want to see the polished product that is like pro college. They're gonna want to see that. Like, because if a kid isn't able to do something on their own, like, are they going to be really that interested in watching it? Probably not.
Yeah,
But
true that.
yeah, you got kids like where I was working, like, they play football, they play basketball, they watch the NBA, like they're like, oh, that's something I want to emulate, that's something I want to do. If you don't make it accessible to them, they're not going to see themselves in that role.
True that. True that. Yeah, I think that's important too. Have the people, especially the youth, see
Mhm.
themselves playing across. Imagine that, dog. Like access, storylines, inspiration for the youth,
Hmm.
the mainstream media or just media companies or media outlets put together. Money, right? There's an opportunity there. I don't know. People have probably tried to do or try to start like a lacrosse league. Hey, dog, it's an interesting sport. I enjoyed watching it when I would go there. I used to maybe not the people, right? Maybe the
Hmm.
people kind of, weren't really like my favorite people. Let's just leave it like that. But the
Yeah.
game itself was fun to see, dog. It was fun to see the people get into it, dog, and they would get it would get intense, dog. It would get fucking crazy those
It would
times.
get heated, but I always knew I could count on you to have my number painted on your chest. That was always good
Hey, dog,
for
it
all your
was
friends, for all your friends listening.
I never did that shit. I never did that shit, dog. I think the only memory that I have of lacrosse, I don't like saying this one, but there was one time it was like a fucking Sunday, fool. We go and drink mimosas somewhere. I buy a Four Loco, dog. I fucking drink it in the parking lot. We go see the game. There's a party at the house behind PDT.
Hmm.
I don't think it was my freshman or sophomore year. I think it was sophomore year. Big ass party, fool. Bro, I forgot it was Sunday. I forgot I had like I wasn't really cool with anybody in the lacrosse team at this point, and I forgot how much I drank. Fool, I kid you the fuck now. I did not. I didn't. It took me a long time for me to remember that day. It's still taking me like years and years to try
I
to
know
put
exactly
together.
what day you're talking about. It was your sophomore year because it was my freshman. I know exactly what day you're talking about.
Fool, I remember I
Wait,
took a nap in a tent at the house. I like woke up in a tent. I was like, what the fuck? Like, where am I, dog? I woke up and it was still like nighttime and everybody's still fucked up. It was one of the craziest Sundays at that
no,
fucking
I
school.
remember it was we won the conference championship in overtime,
Yes,
so we were 16-0 at that point, so we were undefeated, like number three in the country. We were like it was a great time.
I remember that. That's the only memory, the best memory I have of lacrosse, dog. But we come to the end of the interview, the story of Xander, dog. Got one final question for you, dog. If you could talk to the future Xander, dog, what would be a question you would ask him?
Yeah, it's a tough one. So you sent me the question beforehand to think about, and I was looking at that question, trying to think. I'm like, I guess the question I asked myself 10 years from now is kind of like, are you, are you satisfied with what you have done? And I know it's an open-ended and kind of a broad cliche question, but it's something that's like, it's always like, you look back on 5 years, you look back on 10 years, and you're like, when you reflect, it's like, okay, God, I could have done this differently. I could have done that better. And so, you want to ask your future self that, like, how do you feel like between now and then? Like, are you satisfied with what you did? Like, what could you have done better? But then a part of me is also like, things happen for a reason. Like the power's out at the schools that I end up
Yeah.
going to. Like, stuff happens for a reason. So part of me is like, I want to ask my future self that question, but part of me is also like, I don't like to know because I don't like things like getting in the way to be like, what happens, happens. Like that, you just gotta, roll, you gotta go with the flow and be like, but I guess asking yourself, are you satisfied? And if the answer is just yes, like that's good enough for me. I don't need to know anymore because the fortune tellers that like even like fortune teller like on the side, like funny tangent, like yeah, I don't mess with that. Like I don't like to know. I don't like to know what's in store. Let me just find out. But if my future
Yep.
self is satisfied, that's good enough for me.
Boom. That's all you need, huh? Boom. There it is, dog. Well, I appreciate Big Dog 3 hours ahead. I know you say you're an early riser. So what is it, like
Yeah,
10
no
p.m.
school
over
tomorrow
there?
though. Yeah, 10:09. I mean, we got no school tomorrow, so it's fine. I just, hang out at the house, get some work done around the house. That's about it. We're supposed to get anywhere between 5 to like 8 inches of snow
Oh, don't
Sunday
say that
nights. We
shit,
might
dog.
not we
Fuck
might
that
not
shit.
even have school Monday.
Well, I'll
That's
tell
another
you,
nice thing about teaching snow days.
no
We get
school.
them to no school. I don't have to
It's
go in.
it's 59 degrees right now here in LA.
Yeah, I think
There's
it's like
a
20 something here.
there's a time in the day where it's nice. It's fucking beautiful. I'm like, let's go, baby. I love living here. But thank you for taking time out of your day, dog. I know this was probably random. This is
No,
not like
I love it.
probably the last thing you expected out of anybody, right? Because look, if I don't really know, like I don't have like a set group of people that I want to interview. Like if you look at the people that I've interviewed, it ranges from Owu people that I met to other rappers to other educators, my
Yeah.
mentors. So I was like, let me hit this floor. Let me see if he's down. Because sometimes there's certain people I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna be down to do it. So when you said yes, I was like, let's go, dog, let's go.
Yeah, dude. No, dude, you've done a lot. You've done a lot for me, and I like. And when I looked at what you're doing, I'm like, okay, I like what he's doing. Like, this is like some almost like some like people of New York kind of type shit that I like. I'm like, all right, cool. Just different people telling stories. Like that's a big thing. And you're kind of like what we were talking about. You're a storyteller yourself, but you're like the facilitator of all these. You're bringing a bunch of like different chapters into one book kind of deal, which I
Yep.
think's cool.
There's certain people that I do want to interview, dog. From my
Sure.
time at OWU, is there a specific person do you feel like you would enjoy seeing them on this podcast?
I'm trying to think if because I'm trying to think also, people that you kind of knew. I think let's see. I mean, if it comes up, if I don't think of it now, I mean, I'll definitely text it to you. And if you want me to help you reach out to anyone, then like text me. Obviously, I can kind of be that like leeway. Like, hey, I went on, I liked it. Dude, I think, uh, what was the thing, dude? I think
Somebody with an interesting story that you feel like, hey,
that's
you
what I'm
should
trying.
hop on Othree's podcast.
Yeah, I gotta think on that one because I can't think off the top of my head right now. But I will think on that one because there's definitely people we know that would be very interesting. I just can't think of right now.
The only one, I mean, to me, dog, having Will, I mean, I've had him twice already, dog. Having
Yeah.
Will on here, having Pat, having Billy, and then now having you. I have other people that I've hit up that we're waiting to record their episode. So I'm making my OWU rounds, slowly but
Mhm.
surely. I feel like at the end of the day, dog, there's gonna be a lot more OWU people than there was people that I met growing up out here, just because um it's just a different environment. It was different times, and I just had the luxury of being different over there.
Mhm.
So it was easy for me to meet a lot of people and shit. But you were at the top of my list at when I would make the list of people, you were up there with Will and Pat, interesting people. So I really appreciate that you took time out of your day to do this interview. And if because we've chopped it up here and there about education, and maybe in the future you hop on the podcast again to give us an update about how your time at this correctional facility has been and shit. But
Oh yeah,
hopefully,
dude, for sure.
hopefully, hopefully, everything goes well this year, and congrats on how do you even say, on being married? No, not yet, right? What is it?
Engaged.
Being
I think.
engaged. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
the
appreciate it.
technical term for
I
it.
told my parents that I was coming on your podcast. My parents were my mom wanted to make sure she could give you another big hug.
I just met so many fucking parents, dog. That was beautiful too. I got to see a lot of different cultures and environments. So it was just right for me to invite you fools on the podcast, because it's easy. I could have just been on some strictly LA shit, but everybody's
Yeah.
story matters. Everybody's story is important. But now any family member, any friend, any follower of you could listen to your life story. It'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This is the video format. It will be on my YouTube channel. Any final words?
Nah, man, I love what you're doing. You got keep this going too, because it's so easy to start something like this and then for it to fall off if you don't be consistent. But I've looked at the amount of videos you posted so far. You just keep doing what you're doing. I think this is gonna go somewhere.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, um, yeah, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything. The story of Xander is your boy 3 signing off. Don't forget to love yourself today. All right, adios.